Let's have a look at how to factor trinomials. So previously, when we started, we had two brackets that we multiplied by using FOIL to get an answer that looked like this. So in this lesson, we're going to be going backwards to get our two brackets back. And that's going to be useful later on in being able to sketch our parabolas. So let's start with these two trinomials, and what they have in common is that they are going to use this rule um, called two numbers that multiply to the last and add to the middle number. So these two things, these symbols here stand for numbers. So when we read this, we say two numbers that multiply to the last number and add to the middle number. Now, why is that? There's something that both of these have in common, and we read these from right to left. So we're going to read these backwards in terms of the way we normally read. So we're going to start with this sign here. The last sign is a positive in both. That's what they both have in common. And that's how we know that we're looking for two numbers that multiply to the last but add to the middle. So what does that mean? We're looking, first of all, for numbers that multiply to 12, because they both have 12s at the end. So we're going to make a list of two numbers that multiply to give us 12. So it's nice to start with 1 times 12, and then 2 times 6, and 3 times 4, and go through the list until you've found all the multiples. So here's our complete list of pairs of numbers that multiply to 12. Now, we're looking for the pair that adds to 7, so adds to the middle number. So notice that we're starting from the right-hand side and we're using information as we go along to the left-hand side. So now we're going to make use of this 7. What two pairs out of these, or what two numbers out of these three pairs add to 7? 12 and 1 add to 13, so it's not that pair. 6 and 2 add to 8, so it's not that pair. 3 and 4 add to 7. So this is the pair of numbers that we want, 3 and 4. Now what do we do with those two numbers? We put those at the ends of our brackets. Now it doesn't matter if I put the 3 here and the 4 here, or the 4 and the 3. It doesn't matter. The next thing we can do is we can put down our x's at the beginning of the brackets, and we're almost done. Now all we have to figure out is what signs go in between here and here. We're going to get another clue from our trinomial. This sign now also tells us that both signs are the same. So we have two choices. These can either be both pluses or both minuses. How will we tell? This sign tells us what they both are. This is a plus, so that means that both signs are positive. So we just have to put in our plus signs here, and we're done. And what we just did was factor this trinomial. And you can check it by doing FOIL on this, and you would be able to get this trinomial back. So let's have a look at the next question. It looks very similar in terms of the numbers, but notice that this one has a plus here and this one has a negative. So our two binomials are going to be different. Let's apply the same rule. So we want two numbers that multiply to 12 but add to 7, because this tells us that they have to add to 7. Again, we're going to use 3 and 4. So we'll put in our 3 and our 4 at the ends of our bracket. We'll throw down our x's. And we always need our x's at the beginning, because when we do FOIL, x times x will always give us our x squared back. Now all we have to do is figure out what the signs are in between. And this tells us again that both signs are the same. So we look over to the left, and this tells us that this time both signs are negative. So we'll put a negative in here and a negative in here, and we're done. And again, you can check this by doing FOIL. Notice that x times x would give us the x squared. The last two numbers, 3 times 4, and both are negative, would give us a positive 12. And the inside would give us negative 3x. The outside would give us negative 4x, which would add to negative 7x. Notice in this case, 3 times the 4 would give us the positive 12. The inside would give us positive 3x. The outside would give us positive 4x, which would give us a positive 7x. So this rule lets everything work out nicely so that our factors give us all the right signs that we originally started with. Okay, we've got a dotted line here because we're now going to use another rule, and the two rules are highlighted by the stars. This rule is similar, but we're going to be looking for two numbers that multiply to the last number, but this time subtract to the middle number. And why is that? How will we know? We look at this sign again, and it's a negative this time in both cases. So that means look for two numbers that multiply to 12, but subtract to 4 this time. Now in both of these questions we have a 4 as the middle term. So let's go ahead and write down our factors again of 12. So we have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Now we're looking not for something that adds to 7 as we did above, but something that subtracts to 4. So let's have a look through this list. 12 and 1, if we subtract, we get 11. 3 and 4, if we subtract, we get a 1. And 2 and 6, if we subtract, we get a 4. So this is the pair we want. We want the 2 and the 6. Let's throw those down at the ends of our bracket here. And we'll put down our x's at the beginning. And now we just have to figure out our signs. This time, a little bit different. This sign tells us that both of the signs are going to be different. So this time we'll have a plus and a minus. Now we just have to figure out, is it plus and minus or minus and plus? We're going to make use of this sign, gives us another clue. This tells us that the sign of the higher number has to match this. So the sign of the higher number has to be negative. So 6 is a higher number than 2, so that means the 6 has to be negative. So we'll put the negative here, and we'll put the positive here. Now why is that? Notice that when we do the inside and the outside of FOIL, the inside will give us a positive 2x, and the outside will give us a negative 2x. Positive 2x and negative 6x will result in negative 4. We need it to be negative. Let's have a look at this one. It's almost the same, but we have a plus sign here. We had a negative sign here. Again, we want factors of 12, and we're looking for, again, a difference of 4. So we want the same pair. 2 and 6 give us a difference of 4, so we'll put down our 2 and 6 at the ends of our bracket. We can also put down 6 and 2, it doesn't matter, as long as our signs end up being correct in the end. We'll put down our x's, and now we'll look at this sign. It tells us that both signs are different, so we want plus and minus or minus and plus. We have to decide. This sign tells us this time that the sign of the higher number has to be positive. So 6 is higher than 2. This time the 6 has to be positive. And again, when we're checking, notice this time now, on the outside we'll get 6x, and the inside will get negative 2x. So will result in a positive 4x. So those are the rules that you need to factor trinomials. Remember, there's two sets of different rules, and after a little bit of practice, it will become easy.